Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living. This is our self-healing class, which we have every Thursday at 7. Let me start. I have a little reading, but first I want to welcome the people on Zoom, and we're also broadcasting on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. So if you'd like to be a part of our discussion, which is immediately after our lesson, send us a message, and then Jimmy will send you the link or post the link so you can join us on Zoom. I want to start with a little paragraph from the book You Can Heal Your Life, and we are teaching largely from Louise Hay's bestseller, You Can Heal Your Life. Louise wrote, "In the infinity of life where I am, everything is perfect, whole and complete. I believe in a power far greater than I am that flows through me every moment of every day. I open myself to the wisdom within, knowing that there is only one intelligence in this universe. Out of this one intelligence comes all answers, all solutions, all healings, and all new creations and creativity. I trust this power and this intelligence, knowing that whatsoever I need to know is revealed to me, and that whatever I need comes to me at the right time in the right space and sequence, and that all is well in my world." So this evening, I thought I'd go back to a theme that I come to, often enough, because most of us have a tendency to forget the teaching. We forget the truth that we teach here. So it's entitled Remembering and Forgetting. So again, welcome to the center. I know some of you are signing in right now. I'm the pastor here at the First Church of Religious Science in New York. I say that because that's our legal name. We go by First Center for Spiritual Living in New York. This is the church where Louise Hay was a practitioner, where she learned how to do her affirmations that became the basis for her international bestseller, You Can Heal Your Life. Again, if you're watching us on Zoom now, welcome. And if you're watching us on any of the other platforms, please send us a link and we can get you on Zoom. Also, for those of you who will be watching this lesson throughout the week, and there's some 150 of you or more, send us a message. You can join our center. If you want to become a member, a supporting member, it's only $50 for the entire year. So please, send us your information. It's very easy to join us. So tonight's lesson is probably going to be about 20 minutes, and then there will be a time for some questions and some sharing. So I also need to mention that we meet every Sunday morning at 10:45. We have a meditation at 10:45, and we have a lesson at 11 a.m. So join us then also. And if you're talking to your friends and any of this, I'm sure some of it will resonate and you'll want to share it, or you want to watch it again, you can go to our Facebook page, and these lessons are available for free 24 hours a day. So go to our Facebook page if you would like to listen to again. So that's my announcements. Those are my announcements. The founding pastor of this particular center was Raymond Charles Barker. He was quite famous in his time. He wrote a number of books. He was the pastor, the teacher of Louise Hay. And so we have quite a spiritual heritage here at the center. We attract all kinds of people here from every walk of life, and everyone is welcome from every religion and from all over the world. It seems to help just about everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned student I used to be presenting these same lessons in another state, and I would get the fourth year metaphysical student, I would get the new people to the same class, because all of us need a reminder, which is really what today's lesson is about, remembering and forgetting. We need the reminders because it's very easy to get caught up in our day-to-day living. And if you can tune in, once or better, twice a week for a short time, this is like getting a shot in the arm. It can be very, very helpful. So we have a little audio problem here. Just give us a minute. Okay. In our classes, we have 52 different segments. So this one is going to be tonight. It's been said that we have built-in forgetters. I can't remember where I first heard that. It's kind of a corny phrase. What is a built-in forgetter? Well, there is that part of me that just, I think I know something, then I forget it. And Louise had an audio out with her book, and the guy who sang it, Hal Josephs, he had a lyric. It was this: remembering and forgetting. It's the game we play. So we come into this teaching and we acquire some spiritual knowledge, and it seems like, oh my God, now I've got the answer to everything, and then we feel let down because we don't practice it all the time and we forget. So as we come here, we begin to develop a sense and knowing that we're part of this great spirit, and we come to understand that it's responding to us. We get an inkling and an idea that we are an activity in this spirit. We are a point of awareness within it. So most of us eventually discover, as we get involved in this teaching and self-healing, that we are alive and we are awake in spirit, and that it's responding. And as this awareness grows, and it will grow the more you remind yourself and the more you connect, you get filled up with spiritual knowledge, and what starts to happen is your senses quicken and you begin to develop what we call positive expectancy. There's a wisdom that is happening in you the more you get tuned into this. And the more you begin to trust it, you begin to have hunches, and ideas will come to you seemingly out of the blue. Well, that's happening out of the blue. It's because you're communing with life. As you're surrendering and knowing that all is well and you're trusting life more, then ideas will come to you. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson who used to say that spirit is always wooing us. So if we slow down a little bit and we allow it, spirit, or you can think of the word inspiration, spiritual ideas will come to you. You really can't silence spirit. It's always there, I'll say, wooing you, attempting to get your attention. And it comes through oftentimes as lessons for us to learn, stepping stones for us to greatness. People who are in our classes, we teach different kinds of classes. They're all about, spiritual growth. People in our study are called truth students, or we're learning about metaphysics. And the more we practice, the more we understand that we are a center of this divine activity. And this activity that's going on is eternal and it's timeless. And the more we engage it, our faith will grow, and we get to a place where we know that we're connected, and we know that there's power that we can use. And the more you realize that you are one with this power, you'll really have a sense that nothing can touch you, and nothing can hurt you, because you're developing a faith where you know you're established in spirit. We come to understand in this class and in this center that we're on a spiritual journey. We're all human beings, and we're on a spiritual journey, and we're here to learn and to grow, and we're all evolving. Each of us in a different place in time, but we're all, what my teachers used to say, evoluting along. So we're here to learn, to grow, and to express ourselves in greater and greater freedom. And as Louise Hay would say, we're learning to trust the process of life. And as we're learning that there's nothing and no one against us, that's really a great thing, because we have all these preconceived ideas we've had that, life is against us, people are against us, and we create all these things in our mind that really are not true. As you come into metaphysics, you understand that I am as God created me. I'm one with the one. I'm an individualization of life, and that all doors are open for me. So I must knock, I must open the door, I must create the avenue in mind, and realize that the good is here. It's actually trying to get my attention. So the kingdom, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, is definitely at hand, and it's only awaiting our discovery of it and then our entry into it, because we live in it. But we have a tendency to forget all that, which is, tonight's point. And when we go towards forgetting, and we do that kind of quickly, quicker than we'd like. You can come into a class on Thursday night and we can remind you of the truth of who you are, and we can do that again on Sunday, and then 15 minutes later, you're in a squabble and you've forgotten that you're supplied and supported. And, that's the way it goes for many people. But it doesn't have to be that way. So how do we start to practice this teaching so it works to our benefit? Raymond Charles Barker, again, was our founder. It was his belief that most of humanity is programmed to see negativity. And I've thought about that a lot. We're programmed to see what's wrong. We're programmed to see what's missing. And you might notice how often you yourself talk about what's wrong in the world, or what's wrong with you, or what your looks are like, your weight is like, or where you are in your life. And we have a habitual conversation, and we have a conversation going on all the time with ourselves. We talk about, what's going on in the world. We talk about lately rising prices, inflation. We talk about our significant others. We talk about our family members. Much of our conversations, if we want to be honest, is about what's wrong and or what's missing. And we talk a lot about what we think should happen and what ought to happen and what could be better, and what we think should be changed. And so there's a lot of conversation that really goes on with a lot of people about what's wrong and what's missing, and what's not good and what's not good enough, and what's missing and what's lacking. You might be talking about your customer service experience. It could be with Spectrum or Comcast, or it could be your phone company. You might be commenting about your food, or the costs of food, or the way your food is being served. See, in all these interactions, you're making comments, and you have a running commentary, and it's either life-giving or it's critical. So, only you know what it's like being you. Only you know what it's, when we ask every Thursday night, what's it been like being you? Only you know if you are the cheerleader. Only you know if you are the person who's the constant complainer. There's many people out there living really tough lives. There's a lot of people who have a lot of hopelessness, or a sense that they can't keep up with life. There's a feeling in some cases they've lost their edge. It's too late for them. They have an idea whatever they are, whatever they have or value, whatever they are is not enough. And I speak to a lot of people where there's hopelessness and an idea that things are getting worse, that everything is too much. So some people live with a lot of sense of self-rejection and loss. There's quite a few people, of course, always that are dealing with illness and disease. And there's people dealing with all kinds of ideas that are depressing, and where people don't feel that there's any way out. So in all these instances, the inner dialogue is really, it's real to them. And as a result, that inner dialogue has a tendency to play outside of them. So we talk a lot about that here. Whatever's going on inside is playing outside. And you can walk through your world and you can be listening to people all over the place talking about what's wrong and what's missing. And it's very easy to be a part of those discussions. It's very easy to turn on your TV and hear, that everything's going on. It could be Ukraine, or it could be COVID, or it could be politics. It could be anything. And it's very easy to participate in any and all of that. I've been taught by a lot of really good spiritual teachers over the years when many of these things were going on in the world. I remember one of them when there was a recession. There was a huge marquee which said, "We heard there's a recession," and then in big letters beneath it was written, we are not participating." And that's really part of what we do here is once we see that we're having a negative conversation, and once we realize that we're part of the problem, we very quickly, because we're forgetting the truth, right? We very quickly stop. We stop it long enough to take a look and think, oh my goodness, I'm participating in this negative activity. I'm part of the problem. I'm creating it myself. So I've lived long enough to know, and witness a lot of this in spiritual communities and therapeutic communities. I've seen a lot of people who've really been having tough times in life saying, "I'm fine, Greg, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." It's kind of like a default answer. But the problem with that, if you're always saying you're fine and you're really not fine, that's a problem also. People routinely say that they're fine, and at times they're saying it when they're struggling deeply. And they're saying I'm fine when they're losing hope and they're losing faith. And when they're worried about their families and they're worried about medical diagnosis and they're struggling with everything from cancers to heart disease and diabetes, and they say I'm fine. And people say they're fine when they're terribly worried about themselves and their family and their future. And yet they'll say they're fine. And they say that when there's really things that are really difficult going on in their lives. So what they're telling themselves and they're thinking all through the day, what they're saying and what they're thinking are two different things. When I was younger in Miami, I had a great minister friend, and he was an early mentor. And I can't ever forget his lesson entirely because he was an important figure. And he said, I went to school and I studied psychology, and I went to get a master's degree, and I was studying abnormal psychology, and it was then going to become a PhD. He said, because Greg, I got really good at diagnosing what was wrong with people, and I know some of you have heard this story before, and I think that's a problem a lot of us have. We're really good at seeing what's wrong with other people, and we see what they're doing wrong and how they're acting. But that's problematic in a way, because if you can see what's wrong in all these other people, most likely, it exists in us first. There's an old adage, if you can spot it, you've got it. So I recall when I was in my 20s, I was in a therapeutic group, and I could very easily diagnose what was wrong with just about everybody. But, and then I was having a lot of people issues in my 20s. The thing that you come to understand in metaphysics is when you really start to grow and start to love yourself more, you have less and less issues with people. Because what we'll teach you here is that everyone is doing the best that they can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. So whoever's showing up and however anyone is showing up, you might think they're being a monster or they're being terrible, and they might not be acting in ways that you think is good, but people are where they are. So that's one of the big things with Louise Hay regarding the subject of, self-love and forgiveness, is the realization that wherever I am today, or wherever this other person is today, I am doing the best I can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness I have right now. So we learn here to extend, we have compassion towards ourselves and we have compassion towards other people. That's a Christian principle, furthermore. Love everybody, forgive endlessly. But my former teacher, he was taught, to analyze and to use his brain to analyze everything and everyone. And of course, this whole word analyze really means to tear apart. And what we do in religious science and what we do with the Louise Hay material is we're here to see the wholeness. We're here to see the good in people, and we're here to see the good in ourselves. Louise Hay concluded that this outlook, this critical outlook and approach, is the road to what she called dis-ease and sickness. Back in the 1980s, I was studying the Louise Hay material, and I became a facilitator of her groups almost immediately. And as I was facilitating those groups, I was learning so much from the material myself, because I was witnessing people actually transform right before my eyes. They were healing every area of their life, from their relationships to their health to their finances. There is no part of your life that doesn't get positively impacted from practicing these principles. And when Louise Hay would simply say, all is well, and at that time I didn't know she was a former member of this particular center where I stand, when she was teaching all is well, she was really saying what we teach here at the center is everything is in perfect order. Everything's unfolding in divine order. I now understand that she was talking about the fact that we live in a spiritual system that's unfolding in infinite precision and in perfection always. Louise Hay, in the simplest and the most beautiful way, talked to us about forgiveness. For her, it was the most essential thing, the single most essential thing for all of us is to forgive ourselves, to forgive others, to forgive the world and everyone in it, and everything that's happened up until now, and to forgive everything, again, that's come before. And as I think of any of these ideas, it's so easy to do so. If you go backwards, it's so easy for us to be there ourselves. It's so easy for us to be tough on ourselves over the things we've done and said, horrible things. Some of us are still punishing ourselves for relationships we had 10, 20 years ago, things that we said. We live in remorse, and we do an awful number on ourselves for things that happened many years ago. And so a lot of folks live with regret over the things that we've done, and we keep feeling bad about things, and we maintain a sense, we maintain this idea that we're unforgivable because of some of our past actions, or we're unlovable. Many people have found their way into our teaching because of this. And so we offer relief for people who are tormented by their past. And then there's a group of people that I know that will never forgive anyone. And I can think of even one or two people in my own family, that they're just hanging on to something that they will never forgive. And if that's something you're doing, if you're maintaining resentment, That's really strong energy, and it's powerful energy, and it's completely working against you. So you've heard the old adage, drinking poison daily, thinking it's going to harm somebody else. If you're maintaining resentments, it's only going to hurt you. And it will cause you to bring anger and bitterness into every new relationship you get into as well. Louise Hay spoke about forgiving the world, and I remembered that for this afternoon. It's such an important idea, and loving the world the way it is, because you can be hanging out with people who do a lot of messaging about our culture, our life, and I was in another country last week, and they've got a whole different thing they do, Louise spoke about forgiving the world and loving the world the way it is. And it's a powerful message, because she was not going to dwell in yesterday and what happened throughout history. She was very much a student of Raymond Charles Barker, who said we are today people living in today's world. And as much as she advocated loving and forgiving the self, it was clear that she advocated loving the world she lived in, and knowing wherever we are, we have evolved to this point personally and as a group, and we will continue to grow and evolve. She simply said of herself, and for you and me, all that has come and all that is unfolding now, she said, of all of it, she says, everyone has done the best they have been able to at the time with the information they had. And we will do more, and we will do more. So that made a lot of sense to me then, and it does now. This week, I was reading just yesterday that there was an individual that injured 20 people on a train in New York City. Fortunately, no one was killed. And we've heard it said many times before, hurt people will hurt people. And the thing to understand from a metaphysical standpoint is people, whoever they are operating at whatever level of consciousness they have. Many of you are learning to live in conscious connection here. You're learning to live in knowing that you're one with the one. And consequently, you're learning to live in greater harmony with greater health and greater peace. This peace, this harmony, this sense of connection and love is available to everybody. You can see it, you can experience it, you can feel it. Instead of confusion, instead of seeing bad guys and good guys, you can live in peace. This peace can be your reality. But to have that inner reality, there's work to do. Staying on track is your job. And it's our job on Thursdays and on Sundays to remind you of the truth of who you are. So when you come in here, it's our job to remind you of how great you are, and that you exist as an individualization of this God life, and that in you is everything you need to grow and to blossom, to flourish, to thrive, and to be healthy. Many people have forgotten this. Many people don't know that they have this kind of power. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you're a part, and you can use it. So when you see things going on in the world that really look screwed up, let's stop talking about the problem and stop thinking in terms of bad people. And when we screw up ourselves, we don't want to think of ourselves as bad people or screw-ups. We want to understand, okay, we're people, we're doing the best that we can. And, there's a lot of people doing things out there that are pretty awful, as you would know. And so we're not here condoning bad behavior, but we're here to understand that we live in a spiritual world and that people are operating on different levels of understanding. We're here to be the cheerleaders. We're here to extend love and light. We're not here to judge anyone. We are where we are, and we're evolving, and we're very fortunate, those of us who are in a teaching like this, because we can see the good and we can see the forward motion and evolution of life itself. You Can Heal Your Life, the book was written, I believe, in 1984. I've been facilitating these groups since the very beginning. This material is always life-changing for anybody who actively works with it. Most people in the world are still caught up in what we call the world of effects. And all their preoccupation is, hugely on what's going on in the world and what's wrong and what's missing and all of that. And you can live your life that way, of course. And a lot of people are looking for a quick, self-help books and quick fixes and hopes that some of that will do the trick. Some of you will think a new boyfriend or girlfriend or grabbing some type of a hostage will be the answer, but we don't teach any of that here. Our preoccupation here is not external. It is it's an internal process of learning to love ourselves, accept ourselves. I think I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this, but I'll circle back to the idea that, the people that we're interacting with and that we know, we assume that everybody's doing the best they can with what they know. And once again, our function here is to understand that life is about lessons, life is about growth, and we're here to understand that we are supplied and supported. Our group every Thursday night asks one essential question, and the question is, what has it been like being you this week? Have you been connected this week? Have you been aware of who you are this week? Have you given your power away? Because the thing is, whatever it is that's living inside of you is creating your days to come. So we're learning to become the people who are the guardians at the gate. By that, we're becoming mindful of what we're saying, what we're thinking, what we're watching, what we're programming ourselves with. Our classes are reminders of the greatness that you possess and that you are. Our work is a daily practice, meditation and learning to do affirmative prayer, where you can begin to affirm the truth of who you are. The truth being that you're whole and you're complete and you're miraculous and you're good and you're wonderful. And, continually seeing yourself in this way will bring forth a demonstration, so you will have that be your day-to-day reality. I think at this point, because this is actually a part of a seminar, I'll stop because I'd love to hear what it's been like being you this week. I was away this week myself, so I want to hear how people are doing and what it's been like being you. So here we go.